on this episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists.
What's best about those circles that are created is then that becomes your support team when you do go home. They still get together. When you're having a tough day or you have a question or you've got an idea, you now have your circle of network supporters that you can reach out to that think and feel the same way you do. So it's created those networks to support you throughout the year. When I very, very first started, I worked with Waterpick. And the reason Sunstar hired me is because one of their questions was, do you know a hygienist in every state? And my answer was, if I don't, I know who to contact to find somebody. So oftentimes corporate sponsors are looking for your network, who you know or who you're connected with.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast, episode number 503. I'm your host, Andrew Johnston. Thank you so much for being with me today. Today I have Jackie Sanders on it, and instead of doing our normal intro separate from our outro, we're just going to get right into this. Jackie, thanks for waking up so early this morning to record with me.
Absolutely. Looking forward to some fun and sharing some exciting news with our listeners.
Well, it's one of those things, like, we just had a bunch of episodes that dropped from RDH Under One Roof, really amazing ones. And I'm constantly surprised by, I don't know, just like the caliber of people that are in our profession. Like, they're so diverse. They're so unique. They're all like go-getters. Everyone, especially the ones that go like RDH Under One Roof, I feel like are trying to take that next step in their career, right? Like, they're not the ones that are just like stagnant, like, just kind of hanging out. And so I love having those types of episodes. And I thought that it might be nice to have maybe a conversation with you about, kind of like almost like an RDH evolution, under one roof, educator recap kind of an episode type thing. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to do today. Do you mind though, just kind of, let's get started for the listeners that have no idea what happens during that whole week that you take in whatever city we plant ourselves in. What goes on during that week?
Well, from beginning to end, it's really interesting because we start with RDH Evolution, which is 2.5 days, and it's a career development program for hygienists. And it's not just hygienists that are looking to do something other than clinical work. It's also for the hygienists in clinical and how to heighten your skills and find joy and excitement with your patients again. So it's for everybody. But that is the first 2.5 days. And, some people say, can we take that and put it at another time rather than front of Under One Roof? And I've thought about it, but I don't want to do that because the energy that is acquired and the lessons that are learned at Evolution carry right into Under One Roof. I've had so many attendees say to me, I am so glad I did Evolution first because now I knew how to get the most out of Under One Roof.
Yeah.
And so it's what courses to pick, how to manage yourself on the exhibit floor, how to network if you are looking for other opportunities. So those 2.5 days then run into the 3 days of Under One Roof. And you've got a plethora of lessons and excitement and joy to take back with you when you do go home and start building on everything you've learned. So we've created a week of fulfillment for the hygienist.
And what about educator? How does that wrap into all of this stuff?
Educator is one of those things. We do surveys every year and we listen and we make changes and we pivot. The first year we held educator, it was the day before Under One Roof started, and it was just 8 hours of courses for just educators, those who are needing to get their courses for calibration. And we received responses after that event. It was very successful, but we received responses after that event can't you fit this into under one roof so we can pay the one price and get the things we need because we don't always need the other courses. So we listened and absolutely. So this year we added a day and a half. We added 6 2-hour courses for just educators, workshop style, and it was hugely successful. The workshops sold out immediately for the educators. The responses we got back were, give us more, give us more. So we've been working closely with credits to define the topics that educators are looking for. For those who don't know what credits is, it's the Central Regional Dental Testing. So we're building it up next year. We're going to give the educators 2 full days. So you're going to have the opportunity to acquire 8 2-hour courses. And the popularity in that has grown so much, we actually have educators submitting abstracts wanting to speak at RDH Educator. So, we're on to a good thing here. And the reason it is so good is because we are listening to our audience and doing our best to fulfill your needs. So that's what RDH Educator is all about.
I think one of the things that Under One Roof does, I mean, this is always, I'm a little bit of a different duck, I think, than a lot of people, but it mixes the fun with the education, right? I think that sometimes people get down like these, like, we have to say what the party line is, or we have to be professional, we have to do all these things. And all that's true. Like, we do have to be professional, as our role as hygienists is like super professional.
Yeah.
However, we're real human beings too. So you go to Evolution, I saw this year, and I saw it last year too, but I noticed it more this year. There would be like the group of people that met at Evolution, and then they would hang out all during Under One Roof, right? Yeah. And then they'd go to the parties and they would have the fun. They would like let loose and not be unprofessional, but just have a good freaking time. And I think that there's something about that you guys have captured over the 20 whatever years of doing this, that you guys have figured that out.
Well, and what's best about those circles that are created is then that becomes your support team when you do go home. We just had a Zoom call the other night with all of the Evolution attendees. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but they still get together. And then when you're having a tough day, or you have a question, or, you've got an idea, you now have your circle of network supporters that you can reach out to that think and feel the same way you do. So it's created those networks to support you throughout the year. So it's fun to watch.
Well, I think networking is really important. I think people don't really know how to do that. So if we were to kind of help the listeners of this podcast, maybe someone that was going to attend Evolution or something in the future, give them an idea of how to be successful in networking, because it's really hard. I think when we think networking, we think, okay, we have to go up and we have to talk to these strangers. We have to talk to the CEO of X company, and boy, howdy, that's networking. That's not necessarily networking, right?
Yeah, no. So networking, some of the best advice I was ever given was from one of my bosses, Aaron Farr. I work for him at Sunstar, and he's now at Patterson. But he told me, he says, Jackie, when you go into a room, he says, I don't expect you to remember everybody in that room, but I want them to remember who Jackie Sanders is and what she does. So it's not about partying. It's not about looking for a job. It's about meeting people and those people knowing what you're looking for, because you might be looking for an opportunity, but if you share with 6 other people what opportunity you're looking for, you've now increased your search because these 6 people know somebody. Does that all make sense? Did I totally get you confused? If I tell a dentist I'm looking for a clinical job in Ohio, and then I walk away and I never see him again, but he's got my card, or he knows my name, or he knows how to get in touch with me, he might go to Ohio and say, I met this hygienist at Under One Roof who is looking for a job. I know you're looking. Here's her name. So you didn't even have to meet your future boss because somebody helped you network in finding your new job. So to me, that's what networking is. The easiest way to network, because there are those of us who have an introverted side to us, and yes, I do have it. So it's hard for us to go into a room of strangers. But when you do, the easiest way to network is walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, I'm Jackie Sanders. What is your name and what do you do?" Because people like to talk about themselves. You may not have to ever say another word because this stranger is going to tell you their name, they're going to tell you what they do, and then if they're kind and they're good enough, they're going to say, "And what do you do?" And then you get to talk. So it's a very easy process. It's just, "Hi, I'm Jackie. What's your name and what do you do?" You know, never met you, but it's fun.
Yeah, and I think don't be nervous about not knowing who somebody is, because I think that's the other thing is we look around and listeners, I watch Jackie and she knows everybody, right? And then I'm like, oh crap, should I know who that person is? And then she's like, yeah, like he's a C-suite level person. I'm like, dang it, I wish I would have known. But I think there's power in not knowing who people are. I think being true and honest to yourself and be like, hey, yeah, a little bit vulnerable. Like, hey, this is who I am. I'm happy to meet you. There's nothing wrong with that. But people get in their head a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, I've been doing this for 17 years. So, and so I've gone to a lot of conventions and, but and I don't always remember people's names. And I have no problem saying, I am great at faces, but I don't remember names. I always used to say it was my front desk's fault because they gave me a list of names every morning and I didn't have to remember my patients' names. So that is the downfall for hygienists is we don't remember
Yeah.
patients' names because we're given the names every morning.
And then
So
we remember their teeth, and that's all we remember is like teeth
exactly,
and
you remember
gums,
their smile,
and
you
that's
remember
it.
their kids'
Yeah.
names, but when I very first started with this at Sunstar and had to start networking, it was hard. And I would actually challenge myself. It was like, okay, you've got to do at least 5 names. You've got to meet 5 people. And then if I was so uncomfortable it was time to leave, I would. But oftentimes after those 5 people, they're like, here, I want you to meet the person they're standing next to.
Yeah.
And there's one thing about networking, you've got to remember the rule of 2. If there's 2 people talking to each other, do not walk up and try to join that conversation because it might be a very private, personal conversation. If you want to walk into a group and listen, that's a big part of networking is listening, then make sure it's more than just it's a group and it's not just 2 people. So that's a difficult one sometimes. And because you'll walk up to 2 people and then all of a sudden it gets silent and you think it's because it's you and it's just because they don't want to keep talking about what they were talking about.
It's like it's a business deal going down,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you walked into it, like, well, I just blew up that deal.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
I know. I want to kind of pivot just a little bit, still on the networking aspect, but I think one thing that people don't know about are how many different organizations that are out there. So you said you've been doing this for a long time, but one of the things that I know you and I talked about is DTA, right? So it was called
Uh-huh.
DTA, Dental
Dental
Trade
Trade
Alliance.
Alliance, uh-huh.
And there are those types of opportunities that are out there. Not for everybody. I mean, you have to be kind of with an organization for something like that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe DTA specifically, but also other organizations that help you meet people in just like unique situations?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was fortunate with Sunstar. That was part of my role. It was professional relations. So we attended. Um, my favorite was AAPD, the pediatric dentists, um, and I jumped on a committee there working with children. So if you get the opportunity to jump on a committee, be on a board, the American Dental Education Association, I was on the Corporate Council Advisory Board. So you get on these councils and you start learning um, exactly how this industry runs, but then you also start meeting the people that are higher up that you want to know. So ADIA is popular, AAPD. Of course, we attended AGD, and I was on a council with them. ADHA, I was on a council with them for a while, and it's just you reach a point where you know when to say no, but when you can have the opportunity to get in those committees and meet other people and learn the strategies and learn Robert's rules and all of that stuff. still
I hate
still don't
Robert's
get that
rules.
one, but
There's a real thick book to help you learn if you don't know.
I know. I needed the
It's the
cliff
worst.
notes on that one.
Yeah.
But but that helped my professional growth a lot because not only did I meet people, but then people knew my skill set and what I was doing and what I was looking for. And those are the things that built my network. When I very, very first started, I worked with Waterpick. And the reason Sunstar hired me is because one of their questions was, do you know a hygienist in every state? And my answer was, if I don't, I know who to contact to find somebody. So oftentimes corporate sponsors are looking for your network, who you know and who you're connected with. And when you can say, I'm on the IDEA Corporate Council, I work with AAPD, blah, 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 that benefits you. So there you go.
There was this one that because I sat on the hygiene committee for Washington State. This is forever ago, and they would send us to the American Association of Dental Boards, AADB, and in that they had a caucus for the dental hygienists from all the states that were, I think, member states or whatever. And it was pretty widely represented. And I think there's also like regional, like, hey, here's the West, here's the East, here's the South, here's whatever. But those types of opportunities, there's just so many of them. We don't think about them so much in dentistry because, again, we put our heads down, we just take care of patients, right? But like, if you are looking to network, there's going to be some seemingly oddball situations where, hey, do you know someone from every state? Well, I do now because I went to this caucus that had a representative from every state, and I met them and talked to them, and we had a good conversation. And I sat at their table at lunch, and I just listened or whatever. There are so many opportunities that are out there, different organizations and alliances that if you just a little bit listen, you'll find them.
Yeah.
I this last weekend, I went to Credit's annual meeting, and it was a good time. But that's a similar situation, right? Where we have member states, we have educators from, gosh, I don't even know how many, probably 30 or 40 states, in attendance. And you want to meet people, go to something like that. Go
Yep.
to an annual meeting, go to a session somewhere. Like, you're gonna meet people.
Well, and what was interesting about that is I got there later in the day and things were going on and the restaurant was just in the middle of the lobby. So I just went down and got myself some dinner and sat there in the middle of the lobby by myself. But I wasn't by myself for very long because people would see me. I sat and talked to a dentist from Iowa, a pediatric dentist from Iowa, who was sitting there eating by herself as well and just carried on a great conversation and made a new friend and but sometimes when you set yourself up to be approached by others, we know our industry is pretty friendly, you will be approached and you might meet some new friends there. So I've got a new connection with a dentist in Iowa now.
If anyone's looking to get into pediatrics in Iowa,
Yeah,
ask Jackie Sanders.
that's
She's
it.
got a
Yeah, yeah.
connection.
Oh, well, yeah. So anyway,
Well, I
um,
want to I want to shift it back just a little bit because um we talked a little bit more like, hey, how can people network with like the higher ups or whatever. But you yourself, like, you're always trying to find uh it sounds bad, but kind of new talent, new up and comer, like people that are wanting to write, people that are wanting to speak, people that are wanting to, share their experience and knowledge. What are you looking for specifically if someone was to maybe want to write an article or looking to be mentored? Like, what either personality traits or qualities are you looking for?
mm, well, those who know me know my number one passion is mentoring and lifting others up and helping others find their dreams and their goals. So, number one, what I'm looking for is somebody who's ready and wants to learn. They don't have to know everything. Um, people will. often introduce me to other people, and I'll say, when can we share a phone call? Because that's the first thing I want to do. I don't want to do it in writing. I want to hear your voice. I want to know your dreams. I want to know what your passion is, what you'd want to write about. Is there something inside of you that you feel like you want to get out? And then we jump in and we do it together. I have some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years that I share with new writers. And you don't have to be perfect in the beginning. That's why we have an editorial team. Um, I guess one trait is you have to be willing to accept kind feedback. Nobody at Endeavor is going to abuse you for not being a perfect writer. But, I will, if somebody writes an article, I will look through it. I will edit it myself. I will give them some ideas, some suggestions. Oftentimes, one thing I do lean into is we are really good at defining a problem. And when you do that, then also define some possible solutions. So when you're creating a problem to our colleagues, then say, okay, if you're having this problem, then here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solutions. So you make a well-balanced article that way. It doesn't come out that we're just presenting a problem with no solutions. What are the solutions? And that's a great element of leadership and management. Don't present a problem to your manager without also providing a solution.
But then it
So,
just comes off as
so-
complainy, right? Like
right,
it's not really, yeah.
right. Yeah. You need to also put a little evidence behind your content. It can't just be your opinion. Your opinion is not going to go far because every hygienist has one. So if you can put some research and evidence behind what you're writing, it's going to strengthen your message to our colleagues.
Are there particular topics that are either better received or kind of like, kind of hotter topics right now that someone could probably lean into and have a better chance of, or should they just stay with like tried and true past topics?
I'm not going to limit anybody to say write about what's hot and true right now, because some of our best articles are things that come out that I've never thought of. Some of our best articles are stories, situations, patients that people have had with new conditions they've never seen before. Things such as sickle cell, treating patients with Parkinson's disease. If I would have known you were going to ask this, I would have looked some things up. But different illnesses and such that we don't know anything about, that are just starting to be diagnosed, but tying those into what the oral implications can be. So they're tied into systemic health, but they're things we've never thought about before. But then also, AI is changing us quickly, drastically fast. So those topics tend to be popular. GBT is popular right now, but you don't want to write about something that everybody else is unless you have a passion for it and you want to put some research behind it. Unfortunately, one thing that is starting to happen, bringing up AI, is a lot of content is coming back to us as AI generated. We do use a filter and screen everything. And to our author's defense, if you have used Grammarly or any type of writing tool for years, unfortunately, now those platforms are using AI and will update your content, and then it comes back to us and it looks like it's AI generated. So I'm just going to say, use caution with any writing platforms you're using. And if I have to send an article back to you, don't take offense, because it's probably happening once a week right now. So that is something we have to watch for.
I mean, to the point of, let's write about kind of something new that you're seeing in the chair or whatever. Like there is so much value in firsthand experience. There's so much value in the clinicians that seeing patients. I mean, I think this is going to ruffle a little bit of feathers, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, obviously. And look, I'm not even practicing currently, chair side. a lot of the academics, a lot of the we can research things, we can write about it, all that stuff's great. But I'm going to tell you, like, if I'm a practicing clinician, I lived and died by what other practicing clinicians were doing and seeing, and preparing myself for those situations. I would much rather see an influx of those types of articles. This is just Andrew's personal soapbox. This is not Jackie Sanders speaking, but I would love to see a influx of those articles of, yes, I did see a patient with sickle cell. Yes, I did see a patient with Parkinson's. This is how I managed it. This is what I didn't know about that in the moment, that I had later learned, hey, pay attention to my words here so you don't make the same mistake, kind of a thing. I love that type of scenario article compared to the one that's just a little bit more Encyclopedia Britannica about, a certain disease or whatever.
Yeah, it's and that is what our readers want. When we do our readership surveys, they do want clinical content. So that is, you're spot on. But what we do, and I think RDH is very good about doing this, is we have a balance between research-driven, clinical insights, and, we do, to our listeners, you guys do complain a lot about how much sponsored content we have, or when we have articles that are sponsored. Unfortunately, those, or fortunately, I guess, fortunately, those are the articles that help pay for the magazine. We have to put a balance of sponsored content in there to keep the magazine going. So, and we heard the same thing about speakers at Under One Roof. Some of them seemed sponsored and some of them weren't. How do I choose which ones are and which ones aren't? And fortunately, those sponsored speakers are what keeps Under One Roof going and keeps it popular. And normally, if it's heavily sponsored, it will be one of the courses that is not CE worthy. But you just need to look at the guide. Listeners, if you need some other insights in here, just reach out to me. But we make sure that we keep a balance. We have to have a balance between unsponsored and sponsored, both at Under One Roof and in the magazine.
RDH Under One Roof 2026 is in DC, right?
It's in National Harbor.
National
Yep.
Harbor.
Uh-huh.
I always say DC. It's not DC.
Yeah.
This will be the I
20.
think third time that I've been there.
Yeah.
In National Harbor. I love this location because of like all the shops and all the, like, there's the waterfront right there.
Yeah.
It's awesome. What are, I know everything's kind of still being created. All the abstracts are being graded. Listeners, there's a very heavy, like, double blind way of grading these things that people don't know. Like, it's actually a pretty amazing thing for the courses that do get approved. But what are you looking forward to most, even though not everything's been planned out yet?
Well, it's, the week we get home from Under One Roof, we start on next year. So the wheels are going. I too, National Harbor is one of my favorite gaylords. It's it's just, in a small way, it's sentimental because with Sunstar, it was the very first conference I went to. There was for ADIA in National Harbor, and I just fell in love. As you say, the waterfront, the downtown, the shops that are right there. And I couldn't even tell you how many times I've been to this Gaylord. But yes, the abstracts have closed. We have, I believe, 32 graders this year. And so all these abstracts are sent off to these individuals. They're anonymous. Nobody knows who they are. They use a rubric system to evaluate them. And then we take the surveys from 2025. We see what your top, in the survey, we ask you what topics you want more of. And so that's how we select these presentations for next year, is we take your feedback. We find the top scoring person, say, in periodontology, and that is who is selected. So it's based on your requests and then just who has the highest scores on the rubrics. And I haven't heard how many we got this year. Last year, I know we had over 300. So it is a very, 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 very competitive thing. And I have a friend that does personal coaching, and she used to say, the worst day in my office is the day after speakers are selected, and all of those who weren't selected are calling me crying. So I apologize to all of those who aren't selected, but we have a ton of other opportunities for growth. So, we do have the Under One Roof Extended that is held once a quarter, will be in 2026. Of course, we have the podcast. We can grab you and put you on a podcast. But the abstracts will be selected. One thing that is changing about next year, I just found out we got approval. RDH Evolution will be a full 3 days. So that's exciting for me. So you'll have 3 days of Evolution and 3 days of Under One Roof. This will be the 25th year of the Award of Distinction in National Harbor. Of course, we'll recognize the Phillips Heart to Hands recipients, Sunstar Award of Distinction. So all of the top players will be there, and we're putting their programs together. So it's exciting, and we listen to you guys. So if you have suggestions or ideas, please, please, please let us know.
It was nice. You got a quick 1 week break, and then you're back at it, planning, and all the stress is already coming. Jackie Sanders, Jackie freaking Sanders, as I like to call her, is one of my favorite people. You're one of the best mentors in this business. Thank you so much for everything you do. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, if anyone would have had any questions about some of the things that you said on this episode, how can they find you?
Oh, it's easy. It's J Sanders at Endeavor, ENDEAVOR, B as in boy, the number 2, B as in boy.com. And if you forget it, if you open up the magazine at the bottom of the editor's note, my email is right there. And it's in the front of the magazine as well. I'm easy to find. And if you can't find me, reach out to Andrew. He always knows where I'm at.
Oh, I will absolutely send people your way. All right, Jackie, thanks again for being here.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great day and take care.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.